Welcome to 1844 Made Simple. When you read the Bible, one point comes through. There is a judgment or judgments. We find it over and over again in Scripture. Just look at these few texts and you tell me whether or not they talk about some kind of judgment, end-time judgment or judgments, a judgment by works as well. 2 Corinthians 5:10, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that everyone may receive the things done in the body according to what he has done, whether it good or bad. Revelation 22:12, and behold, I am coming quickly, and my reward is with me to give everyone according to his work. 1 Peter 4:17, for the time has come for judgment to begin at the house of God. Matthew 12:36, but I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give an account thereof in the day of judgment. And, powerful one, Ecclesiastes 12:14, for God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Now, folks, these are just a few of many, many texts that not only talk about judgment, but a judgment by works, a judgment about our lives, our idle words, a judgment on how we lived. But you know, that presents a problem, doesn't it? And that's because we're saved by grace, by faith, without the deeds of the law. I mean, after all, isn't that what the gospel is all about? I mean, come on. Who is going to stand when every secret thing, when every idle word will be brought in judgment? I'm in trouble for what I've done publicly, much less privately. So how then can we stand? How are we to reconcile the idea of judgment with the idea of grace? Now, folks, this is not, nor it has been, only a Seventh-day Adventist question. On the contrary, Christian literature through the centuries has wrestled with this issue, how to reconcile salvation by faith and judgment by works. Two doctrines clearly taught in the Bible. Evangelical literature is filled with their best theologians wrestling with this difficult question. But guess what? I believe that as Seventh-day Adventists, we have the key to help unlock the challenge presented here between judgment by works and salvation by faith. And it's found in our sanctuary message. And specifically, this one verse. Vayomer Eli ad erev boker al panim ushlosh meot v'nitzdak kodesh. You know it better as Daniel 8:14. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Or what we as Adventists call the pre-Advent judgment. I want you to imagine that you were a Jew living in the time of the wilderness wanderings, after the tabernacle had been built and the Jews had been worshiping the Lord there. Now, suppose, however, that your understanding of the ritual was limited only to the sacrifice of the animal in the courtyard. Suppose that was all you concentrated on at the expense of the rest of the ministry, including, even especially, the work of the priest in the most holy place on the Day of Atonement. Now, let me ask you a question. Who would have a better understanding of the entire plan of salvation? The one whose focus began and ended with the sacrifice in the courtyard? Or the one who embraced the entire ritual, beginning with the sacrifice, but also understood the ministry of the high priest on the Day of Atonement? Well, of course, the answer is obvious. The answer is obvious that the one whose understanding embraced the entire sanctuary would have a better understanding than the one who focused only on the death of the animal. In fact, I would say that the one who understands the entire sanctuary service would have a better understanding of the death of the animal and what it meant than one whose understanding was limited only to the death of the animal itself. And that is because the death of the animal was part of a larger picture. And to limit yourself to that would mean to miss the big picture. Suppose, like, for example, you had a 10-chapter murder mystery, and you read only the first chapter, the one that the murder takes place. But that's all you read. You don't read the rest of the book where the murder is solved. If your focus is only on the first chapter, are you not going to have a limited understanding of even the first chapter and what it means, as would somebody who read the whole book? Of course. So in the same way, those whose focus is on the cross alone, without understanding Christ's high priestly ministry that follows, will not have as good as an understanding of the cross and what it means as would those who have studied Christ's high priestly ministry as well, which follow the cross. Hence, we have what we call our sanctuary message, which includes the cross, which is built upon the cross, which has its foundations in the cross, but is not limited to it. I mean, after all, what do you do with the good portion of the book of Hebrews, which has as its main point Christ's high priestly ministry in the heavenly sanctuary? Now, think about this too. Was the death of the animal in the sanctuary service in any way in tension or in contradiction with the work of the high priest on the Day of Atonement? Was there any kind of tension, any contradiction between them? Of course not. They were two parts of the same whole. Now, if you think there's a tension, if you think there's a contradiction, then you either don't understand the death of the animal, or you don't understand the ministry of the Day of Atonement, or you don't understand both. Okay? Think about Christ's death on the cross now. Think about Christ's death on the cross and his high priestly ministry. These are not in tension or in contradiction with each other, are they? Of course not. If your understanding of the cross, symbolized by the death of the animal, is in any way in tension or in contradiction to the pre-Advent judgment symbolized by the high priest, by the work of the high priest on the Day of Atonement, if you've got the cross and your understanding of Christ's high priestly ministry, if they're in tension, then you either don't understand the cross, or you don't understand Christ's high priestly ministry, or you don't understand both, because they are two parts of a whole. They are in harmony with each other. Look at this text, Hebrews 8, 1 and 2. Now, this is the main point which we are saying. We have such a high priest who is sit on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heavens, a minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which the Lord erected and not man. Now, notice with me, where are these verses? The beginning of chapter 8 in Hebrews, which means that the main point of the first 7 chapters in a book with 13 chapters deals with Christ's ministry in the heavenly sanctuary. Yet so much Christianity ignores it. But you see, we as Adventists don't, and we should, because Christ's high priestly ministry holds the key to understanding salvation by faith and judgment by works. And again, the crucial text that I believe unlocks this question is Daniel 8:14. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And that is what we're going to study, with the focus on two things here. First, how do we get the date 1844 from the Bible? That is going to be the main thrust of this study. That's what we're going to focus, how we get the date. Second, how does this text help resolve the question of judgment by works and salvation by faith? This is what we are going to be dealing with in this study, these two things.